What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the channel. And we have a big discussion we had here, folks, because it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that, yeah, the Mets are going to make more moves, significant moves even post-lockout. So when evaluating the free agent and trade market, there is one player that sticks out as potentially the best external third base option for the team in Queens, that being, yes, Oakland A's third baseman Matt Chapman. So that's what I'll be breaking down in today's video, everything that there is to know about Matt Chapman and his game, and why exactly does he stand out more than any other external option for the third base position. So as always, folks, make sure you stay all the way till the end of the video for all the details on my thoughts on Matt Chapman and the potential of him landing in Queens. And again, folks, if you find yourself enjoying this kind of Mets content and you want to see more great Mets content like this, don't hesitate from smashing that like and subscribe button, sharing this video with your friends, put on the notification bell, all those great things. Thank you all so much for the continued support, folks. Now let's jump right into today's video. But before we go any further, folks, I have to let you all know that today's video is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. As many of you know by now, I've been teamed up with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, throughout the entirety of these NFL playoffs, and boy oh boy have these games been something, right? And now DraftKings Sportsbook has a huge offer for new customers to get 56-1 odds on either football team to win this weekend. Bet just $5 and win $280 in free bets if your team is in fact victorious. And especially for football fans like me, whose favorite team is not in the big game this weekend, I can have fun with it by watching the game and throwing some money down. So again, new customers bet just $5 and get $280 in free bets if the team you choose does in fact win. And if Sportsbook isn't available in your state, you still have something to play for this weekend. Everyone can play for their share of millions of dollars in total prizes with DraftKings daily fantasy football contests. So do yourself a favor by downloading the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use my promo code LGM and get 56-1 odds on this weekend's big game. Bet just $5 and win $280 in free bets if your team does in fact win. Again, that's promo code LGM at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Okay, folks, before you jump in the comments, let's start off with the two elephants in the room, that being in Eduardo Escobar and Chris Bryant. And what do I mean exactly? Eduardo Escobar signed by the New York Mets this offseason, 2 years, $20 million, such a great bargain contract for a big pop infielder who can play both the second and third base position. And he's currently slotted at third base for the Mets right now. And can he handle that? Yes, the Mets are comfortable with him there. Is he a defensive guru? No, not by any stretch. But again, he's known for that pop in his bat and has that versatility to play second base if needed, however the Mets want to utilize him. And then you have Chris Bryant. He's someone that the Mets showed, of course, a certain level of interest in pre-lockout, and the Mets wouldn't be doing that without, of course, bringing him in and playing him at third base more than anything else. And of course, he has that versatility to play all around the diamond in the outfield. So when Brett Beatty, the Mets' top third base prospect, who should be in the MLB within the next 2 seasons, possibly, very well could find himself at third base, then KB can go in the corner outfields for the remainder of that contract potentially. But Chris Bryant is someone that, does he make sense? Yes. Does he make sense on what he's asking for right now? 5, 6, 7 years? No. I think that's kind of a stretch to suggest the Mets will go down that route. They want shorter term, high AAV type guys in this win now stage. And that's where if they can get Chris Bryant on a 3 or 4 year deal, maybe some opt-outs, it's far more realistic. But again, there's a lot of suitors that like KB, the Phillies, Mariners, just a couple to name a few that are interested in him that may be willing to go upwards of 6, 7 year deal for someone like him, and for good reason. So if Chris Bryant is out of the picture here, then you have to look at, okay, the Mets, they showed interest in wanting to go after one more significant bat at least, potentially the infield. What's going to be an X factor? It's Jeff McNeil. This is a broken record at this point, but if you guys don't know, Jeff McNeil is someone that very well is on the trading block right now. He very well could be dealt this offseason. And if he is traded this offseason, that could be a huge factor into who you're going to acquire to replace him in that infield. You shift Eduardo Escobar potentially the second base position, which he can handle like no problem. It'll be easier for him than third base, I would say too. But then you have that hole at the third base position. So why exactly does someone like Matt Chapman stand out here as the best and most realistic potentially third base option? Well, Chapman, of course, the 28-year-old who had 27 home runs, 72 RBIs, 75 runs scored in just over 150 games in 2021, a 210 average, at just over 300 on base, and just over 400 slugging. Yes, those are underwhelming numbers if you look at the average in itself, and I know a lot of people are a little bit pushed away from that, but when you look at the advanced numbers with Chapman, you have to know that this goes directly in hand with how he did coming off of his first season in which he had a significant hip injury. So keeping that in mind, he got better down the stretch. But when you look at the advanced numbers, Matt Chapman had more pitches saw per plate appearance than any other player in the American League. But the problem was he was striking out quite a bit. He was in the low percentiles, as you see here, through Baseball Savant. But if you look at the other numbers of his walk rate, he had one of the best walk rates in baseball in 2021. So as Billy Beane would love to say, he gets on base. He was in the 91st percentile. We're talking about a chase rate in the 82 percentile, one of the better ones in all of baseball. So it's kind of bizarre how his strikeouts are so low, but his chase rate and walk rate were so fantastic, which tells you that yes, he was striking out on a lot of pitches just because he wasn't truly balanced, especially with his stance. You could tell that he was getting adjusted throughout the season, in part because of the injury that he dealt with the past year, and he's going to continue to get better in 2022 and beyond. I'm not concerned about him on that front, but he's always been big swing and miss. That's how Chapman works. He's someone that in recent years, you had him 20, 30 plus home runs, 100 RBI seasons apiece in the last 2 full seasons in 2018 and 2019. And also through these baseball savant numbers, you can tell that when he makes contact, that thing is going far. You're talking the barrel rate, everything about it is fantastic. High 80 percentiles there for Matt Chapman. He has huge pop in his bat and also has some strong speed too. So you have a lot of balance. And also when you look at his ability right now to come in the Mets at that hot corner, there's no denying him paired with someone like Francisco Lindor would be the best 1-2 punch in all baseball because of that defensive ability. Chapman is someone that has been a defensive guru. He has been the best defensive third baseman in all of baseball. There really isn't a denying that. He's someone who won the Gold Glove in 2021. He's a 3-time Gold Glover. He's a 2-time Platinum Glove. He's a multi-time Defensive Player of the Year, still in his prime on a favorable contract, and also would not have to be here potentially long-term, which is what also makes him stick out versus, say, external options like a Chris Bryant. If you have to go at least 5 years, Mets are more reluctant to do that versus someone like Chapman. He has 2 years left on his deal. Then, of course, he's a free agent. He's in his final year of arbitration, which is exactly why the Oakland A's want to probably part with him along with other pieces like Matt Olson, etc., because they're on their final years of arbs, and of course, the Oakland A's normally don't want to pay that big penny. And if you look at his value this past season through Fangraphs, he was worth roughly $30 million if he hit the free agent market after the 2021 year. So offensive numbers, even though that they seem a little down, his defense and his overall pop and his bat makes up for it, and it's not even remotely close. A plus defender by far, 99th percentile OAA. You're talking about defensive runs saved as a plus 10. He's been the plus 20s, etc. in recent years, and that contract just makes so much sense for the Mets, for a team that has Brett Baty, the best third base prospect in all baseball right now. Yes, you heard that correctly, at the third base position. Probably within the next couple of years, you can either part with Chapman then and throughout this win now stage in which he would benefit the team right away, or you can go down a route, of course, of extending him to, say, a couple more years, but nothing drastic. The Mets can get creative there. So what exactly stands out about him other than his ability? Well, of course, it's the ability of what you can pair along with him and the Jeff McNeil factor more than anything, because Jeff McNeil, again, is someone that if he's going to be parted with, the Oakland A's have looked like that perfect suitor, because the Mets need another bona fide starter, a number 3, if you will. And if you have a Shamanaya, Chris Bassett, or Frankie Montas, all that would be tremendous for the Mets, that we discussed in a previous video on blockbuster trade options for the New York Mets. Check that out, links down below. As always, if you haven't watched it yet, guys, breaking down all the things with the Oakland A's, Chapman, Minaya, Bassett, etc., that you're hearing right now. But point is that if the Mets are gonna bring a hole in this infield by getting rid of Jeff McNeil, the best way to replace it right away is by replacing it right away. Like, let's be honest here. The Mets are not going to part with Jeff McNeil if they don't have an infield replacement right away. It would be awfully foolish for them to do that. So if they're going to do it, the Oakland A's, get yourself a Matt Chapman along with a Shamanaya or a Chris Bassett potentially. Both guys are on the final years of their contracts and would benefit this Mets rotation immensely. Right away, they would make a drastic difference and potentially one of the best 1-2-3 punches, if not the best in all of baseball in that rotation. And then you have Chapman. It's a perfect balance for a team that's in a win now stage right now. McNeil would be that X factor going the other way, along with some other pieces, of course. But point being is that if the Mets are going to go down a trade route to address this rotation, the Oakland A's stand out as the best team. They always have, and Matt Chapman can very well come in as that perfect replacement to shift Eduardo Escobar to second base, have Matt Chapman at third base for either just a couple years until his contract's done, or extend him longer term if you really do like what you're seeing from him production-wise, both on the offensive and, of course, that defensive side of the ball. So, Mets fans, let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. How do you feel about Matt Chapman potentially coming to the New York Mets? And do you think he's the most realistic third base option externally the way that I do? Again, I'm not against Chris Bryant. Chris Bryant is on the top of my list. You guys know that. But the likelihood of the Mets landing him on anything less than 5 years may be slim. And if so, I don't see that deal actually happening. He has a lot of suitors. We know that. And other third base options like a J-Ram, for example, that's just not going to happen. His value is too high. And Josh Donaldson is a guy that could make some sense, but again, isn't nearly as strong defensively as someone like Matt Chapman. And you have more longevity with someone like Chapman too and his favorable contract. So Mets fans, whatever your thoughts are, make sure to let me know them down below. Again, if you enjoyed this kind of Mets content and you want to see more great content like this, don't hesitate from smashing that like and subscribe button, sharing this video with your friends, putting the notification bell, all those great things. Thank you all so much for the continued support, folks. Expect more great content here on WardyNYM always, and I'll talk to you real soon. Let's go Mets, baby.